Welcome, everybody, to another episode of On the Range Podcast with Warhawk Tactical and Kelly Defense. I am Mark Kelly, and as always, I am joined by my co-host and friend, Rick Hogg. How's it going, buddy?
Man, Mark, it's going great. Just want to thank the viewers, listeners out there for giving us your most precious commodity, your time to tune in. We couldn't do it without you. Guys, do us a huge favor, preferably not when you're driving, but make sure you guys subscribe. Leave us a rating review. I don't care if it's just a thumbs up emoji. Do something just to help us beat this crazy algorithm across whatever platforms you're listening to. Don't forget, guys, make sure you guys check out warhog.com and kellydefense.com. Sign up for our newsletters. While you're there, you can hit OTR training on demand. Don't forget, Warhawk Tactical just released our K9 product line. So the In Honor of Duco loop leash is now live. So there it is, buddy. So make sure you guys go check that out. Little info video on that as well, kind of all the functionality with that leash there, but greatly appreciate those that have purchased, all your support. Last but not least, patreon.com/On the Range podcast, where we do a bi-monthly Zoom call with all our patrons, solve all the world's problems, and it's just a great place to hang out. So yeah, buddy.
Yeah, man, wherever you are, thank you for making this part of your day. Really appreciate all the support that you give us. And today we're excited. We're back in the guest business. And I tell you what, we got a really good one today. Super excited about that. Saw a video of her, and I'm going to introduce you here in a second, and it was just unbelievable. She said it was one of her first interviews. Totally crushed it. She had really good opinions and ideas, and she's passing that along and doing a lot of good. So please welcome Liandra Samproni, the host of From the Ashes podcast. Great. Go check it out. How's it going today, Liandra?
Hey, thanks guys for having me on.
Oh, thanks for doing it. I know you're busy, and how long have you been in the podcast business? Because I see that you have a couple that are actually out there in the interwebs and on the space.
It's only been this year. So I started back in February. I got into podcasting, and I love it. I love being able to talk to different people, and you guys know how it is. It's just starting conversations when we don't get to be with somebody in the same room and put that information out there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the technology is really allowing everybody to have great conversations and feel like you build those relationships and work together. It's really been amazing. And you've got a pretty good following. You said that some of your videos are really taking off. I watch them. I was listening to your show today. How's the response been going?
It's been mixed reactions. Some of the women so my audience is mainly women. I target more of like the divorced, the single moms. And some of the things that I talk about, they take offense to, which I understand. Like I've been there. But to me, it's all about just being the best version of ourselves. And sometimes that means we've got to look at the shitty side of things and who we are and what we can change and be better.
100%. Yeah. And because that's one thing we tell our viewers, listeners, just 1% better every single day. Just make that incremental improvement. And I think for society as a whole, it's not there. You know, everyone's sitting there going to the magic box looking for some type of gratification. Oh, look at this person on social, that person on social, and I want to be like them. No way, man. Be yourself. But like you said, be incrementally better every single day, and you'll crush life.
Well, and so I talk to a lot of these girls about dating, because as a single woman, like that's the world that I'm in right now. And so many of these girls have been taught that they're a 10 when they're maybe a 7, and they should expect like this man to have everything. He's going to be the perfect man, make $1 million, have a 6-pack abs, like all of it. But then here they are, maybe not doing their best, maybe not working out, and maybe not being the best version of themselves to attract that 10 of a man. So we need more girlfriends who are like, hey, step it up. Like, you can do better. Let's go to the gym. Let's do something to improve ourselves, right? And not just a pat on the ass and, hey, good job, even though you don't do shit.
Yeah.
But that's interesting take. Okay, go ahead, Rick.
No, but I was just saying, I mean, that's society. right?
Yeah.
We've noticed society's gone to where, hey man, really don't have to work out. You really don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
Here's your participation trophy. Have a
Yep.
great day. And it's a vicious cycle. And Mark, I know I cut you off, buddy, so I'm gonna let you run with that.
It's along the same lines, buddy. I was just going to ask Leandra, where do you think that comes from? Because that has to be
Oh.
generational. That can't be something that sprung up yesterday.
Well, this people are not going to like this. The feminism movement was really great when it started out. And it's taken us down this road where now these women think that we don't need a man ever. And we're now trying to replace them with our own horrible versions of masculinity. And we are not men. And so now we have these pussified men who think that that's how it's supposed to be, and the women are like becoming the men, and it's so backwards. And
Hmm.
I just think that
But
that's getting
uh,
back into our roles, like
sure.
respective roles, you know.
But here's the thing, Leandra, right? Here's a question for you. So you got to think a little while back, we let men, for lack of better terms, do women's sports.
Hmm.
But we never saw any backlash from the women going, hey, this is wrong. It's almost like they rolled over and just let it happen.
Right.
What do you think was the driving factor behind that one? Or do you even have any idea?
Which sports are you talking about? Like
Just
men going into, are we talking about transgender or?
still a man, right?
Okay.
You're biologically a man. I care less what title you
Thank
put.
you for correcting us.
Right.
Yeah, you're a man,
Right.
okay, that you're going into lady sports.
Well,
And
and that completely that undermines all the work that actual women's rights have fought so hard to actually,
mhm,
get us on, I wouldn't say equal playing grounds, but at least having the same opportunities as men do. And it's gone way too far. Now we're going backwards, throughout
mhm,
this whole thing.
Yeah, that's really like you were talking about the movement that was initiated and all those great things like Title IX for the athletics and actually all through NCAA and college opportunities.
Mhm.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
How does that not conflict? And I'm curious to hear from your audience, and maybe some of them you say are coming from the feminist side. What are the reaction to those kind of things, those tangible things that are obviously
Oof.
not in line with Title IX and women's rights?
There's just, I really don't think women know or understand where we're going wrong. A lot of this boils back down to like the home and the men missing out of the lives of children, especially boys. But when I was talking to Rich Cooper, one of the things that he said was that, if you are with a woman who doesn't respect the man in their relationship, maybe she has daddy issues, she's not going to respect having the man in her kids' lives either. If she just divorces him and picks up and goes, it's no big deal, right? But if she has a good relationship with her father, she's going to respect that relationship for her kids and want the man to continue to be there. It's this pattern over generations, that we are losing the men, and therefore the kids are growing up without the fathers. And I that's where I want to kind of bring us back to where we need to be. The women can work. Yes, the men need to be there though too, even if you're divorced, making sure that
Mhm.
that father is still involved 50-50. Like, this is not, hey, I'm going to take all his money and he's only going to see the kids every other weekend. Like, that's bullshit. I can't teach my
Yeah.
son how to be a man. So he needs to have his father in his life the exact same amount of time as I am. That's so important.
And that being said, you make a great point that the responsibility isn't it's both. It's not just
Mhm.
we don't think that the women are really it's they're the one causing this. I think the lack of men being in those lives for generations, only 25 years.
Yeah.
So you can see how before that, maybe even if they were in the house and you saw those nuclear families not breaking up so often, maybe they allowed some of this just as well. They're just as responsible. And
Right.
some of for the equal number of women that are not letting their kids interact with their birth father, there's just as many men who are bailing as well.
Yes.
It's not
Yes.
it's not just their
It's not
fault.
just one end of the.
No.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is like a lot of this boils down to legislation, which is actually created by mainly men. When you see
Hmm.
the number of divorces, it's like 80% of divorces are initiated by women. Well, I'm one of those. But did a lot of these women initiate divorce because they know that the law is going to be on their side? They know that they're going to get child support and alimony, and it's going to be good for them to actually get divorced financially. Whereas the men get screwed a lot of the time. And I don't know. I don't know how you change that. I don't even know how that ended up. How did these men legislatures come up with this? And they're like, hey, that's a great idea. Let's screw ourselves. Like,
Well, like we said, they weren't there putting their foot down or standing up for their own interest or
right.
their son's interest. They were catering to the woman because they said that they're supposed to, instead of
Mm-hmm.
taking the non-emotional look at what is actually happening. And you're right. There's a reason why the venue at the beginning of those separation in job or the family courts is one of the biggest issues, because sometimes they'd rather go across the river or they'd rather go to another county.
Yeah.
But this county is most advantageous. It's you're right. It's incredibly risky
Yeah.
for a young male nowadays.
Well, and that's kind of what got me interested in when I was reading Rich's book. I have a son who's 12, and I'm like, holy shit, like down the road, he could end up just like a lot of those men who get screwed, marry somebody or get somebody knocked up, and then you are like giving over so much of your paycheck and still can't see your kids. So how do we change that? How do we make sure that our sons and our daughters are protected? Um, that's where a lot of this comes from. Is I want to make the best decision for my kids. I don't want them to become part of this statistic.
Yeah.
But I think part of that is just getting back to, if you look at the values in this country,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge piece, because at least for me, I think that our values as a society have just gone down and down and down. It's like we're
Right.
not holding ourselves to a higher standard. And it kind of goes back, the whole participation trophy deal. If you think about it, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. You're going to get something. We're
Right.
not teaching kids responsibility from the get-go to go, hey, man, you didn't win. Check it out. You lost the game.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do to work harder to get better? And between it just being, we'll get a divorce, no big deal, right? People
Yeah.
separating all the time. It's like, are you even putting the effort towards the marriage to go, hey, what's going on? And I get
Right.
it. If you're in an abusive relationship, something like that, and there needs
Oh,
to be
by all
separation,
means. Yeah.
100%.
Right.
Don't be sitting there being a punching bag and going, oh, I got to stay for the kids. No way.
Right. Right.
I'm not saying that one at all. But I just think it's too easy this day and age just to bail and go, we'll see where the cards lay. Find somebody else, and we'll just figure this stuff out. And then it's the kids, like you said, that are stuck.
Mm-hmm. I I am part of that statistic, so I don't know what the answer is, unfortunately. But I think a lot of it comes down to knowing who you are at a young age, or at least not making a life decision until you do know who you are and what you want. I got married at 21, and it was way too young. Like I had no right,
Mhm.
pretending like I knew who I was or what I wanted. And I'm sure people probably told me, hey, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm an adult. I know what I'm doing. But also holding ourselves to a high standard, especially after marriage. Like just because you get married doesn't mean you're off the hook. You don't have to try anymore. You can gain 80 pounds and someone's still going to love you. No, it's not realistic. You still have to be attracted to your spouse
Mhm.
and feel sexy. And as a woman, that's what a lot of the stuff that I do with my retreats for women. It's called Badass Boudoir. And we take these women who are of all different ages and sizes. We've got grandparents, or grandmas, we've got single moms, we've got women who have never been married, never had kids, and they all come in for a weekend. And we embrace that femininity again, our power through our feminine bodies. and show them by taking boudoir pictures, which are sexy pictures, but they see themselves through a different lens, which changes something inside their brain. And they go home to their husbands feeling sexy and being like, oh, this is how you see me. And now I see me that way. And maybe now I want to feel sexy or take care of myself physically and my health. And I mean, so many things stem from that once you actually change your own way of thinking. But I mean, that's, to me, that's been a big change for people too, is and the women have actually seen themselves differently. And then maybe they want to try harder. I don't know. It works out really well though.
So would you say that the majority of the women go in there do they lack self-confidence? Is it just they get in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they all do, which women of, I mean, we've got women who are gorgeous, who don't have an ounce of fat on them, and they come in and like, they don't think that they're sexy. They don't think their husband should think they're sexy. And Boudoir actually did this for me while I was married. I went and had my first shoot, and it's a game changer. I tell these men all the time, I'm like, you need to send your wife. Like, if you want her to see herself as you see her, send her. She will. And then we do other things too. We do coaching and private chefs, and it's like a sisterhood that we form. But it all starts with that self-image. And I don't know where we lose that. I think that's probably society and thinking we all need to be a size 2 to be sexy. But
I think it goes deeper. I think it starts at the house, to be honest with you. And if you think about it, if you're never encouraging your children that there's nothing they can't do, if you're not giving them that positive, one, being a positive role model, two, just kind of give them that positive talk, because now they fall into these ruts. And I think, I personally believe that's where your self-confidence is built. So at a young age, if you're always being told, hey man, you're failing at playing baseball or sports or whatever it is, or, you know, hey, you're not doing whatever, or you're dumb, or whatever words get thrown out there,
that
especially
becomes
when
your reality.
that's
Yeah.
it burns into your brain, and you're not shaking that out. So if that self-worth is never established as a child, there's no way you're going to pick it up as an adult. And then,
Right.
like you're saying, God forbid you're in a bad relationship. You know, maybe that that husband or wife is giving the other partner, you know, kind of that boost, but at the same token, you shouldn't need it. It should come from within. And to
Yeah.
me, that's the biggest thing, is people just don't understand how to have self-confidence. And you know, I tell people this all the time. If you use this little mantra, you know, you ask people who's the best person in the room, and people are hesitant to go, you know what? I'm the best person here. I'm an honest broker. I'll say, you know, there's nothing I can't do. I may not be the best. I will caveat that, but
Right.
there's nothing I can't do. And when you shape life in that format, go out there and crush it. But too many times people are already, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I'm not pretty enough, or got enough money, or whatever is holding them up. Um, I think that's the key, is getting people where they understand, hey, you have self-worth, you have self-confidence, and then I got it. You need to lose some weight. Cool. Fix your diet, get some exercise, off you go.
Yep.
And that self-confidence will come along.
Well, and self-confidence is gained by doing hard things, right?
Absolutely.
And I mean, you start with the little thing. If you want to go and run a 5K, cool. Like, start there, and then you'd be like, "Damn, I'm a badass." Like, what can I do now? Can I do a half marathon? But just doing those little things that people think are, I don't know, they're too far out of their range. It's really not. But that's what's going to build your confidence. And if you can instill that in your kids, like that's even bigger. If they see, oh, look at mom, like she's doing, you know, my mom's a badass. She's doing this, she's doing that. Then they see it's possible, and they'll start to do it themselves, right? Because they know, hey, look at mom. Like, that's how I want to be when I grow up.
Sure.
Yeah, we tell people all the time it's okay to suck at things.
Yeah.
You never learned anything doing it right the first time. And the big piece about that is your kids are watching. They're
Yes.
watching. They see you try things, and when we started this podcast, I could not have known anything less about podcast. When we started, it was really super janky. It was on the phone, but you can do whatever you want, and they see it from mom and dad. Like you said,
Mhm.
struggling to learn something and do something different. Man, what a great example. Now,
Yeah.
I know we talked about how difficult and how challenging it might be for a young man to take that leap, even when he found someone that doesn't have all those red flags or they have a lot of green flags. That's got to be incredibly challenging for a young lady nowadays when they're being told the entire lives, you don't need this person, or they need to be doing this, they need to be 6 foot, six pack, six figures, and all this other stuff. And we all
Mhm.
know that those are few and far between. And also, hey, and this is kind of on the main frame of the first conversation we had, was they need to do this for you, they need to do this for you, they need to do this for you. Next thing you know, you have a guy who's, you know, can't even stand up for himself. She's
Yeah.
not
You
going to
have a
respect
beta.
him, and she's going to kick him to the curb too. So it's got
Yes.
to be incredibly challenging with their state of mind to find somebody.
Well, and a lot of that comes down to they don't know what they want. They think, oh, well, I have all these physical attributes that I want in a man, or he has to make $1 million. Well, when I talk to these women and coach them, I'm like, all right, you actually need to write this down. What are non negotiables? What do you want? And then look at your list, and see, am I the kind of person that that man would want? Am I good with my finances? Do I own a home? How tidy am I? Do I keep a good appearance? Like, and start working on yourself first. That man will eventually show up, but
Mhm.
you've got to put in the work and be that person first. And that's what I'm trying to put into my 14-year-old daughter's head. Like, you don't need to be perfect, but you need to be the best that you can be at any age. And then the men, the friends, all of that will show up. They will attract to you as long as you're doing your best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And another
Teenage
piece. Go
daughters
ahead,
are a
buddy.
different game.
Oh
yeah.
God, I got two.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to cut you off, Rick. I was just going
No, you're
to
good.
bring up another point, is these expectations that just the few things that we mentioned here. I mean, there's going to be a lot of good men that are passed up because of a couple of those things aren't in the
Right.
box.
Right. Right.
It's insane. It's incredibly difficult for young folks nowadays with all these expectations, and men know that going in. I've got to have I've got to have money. I got to stay in shape. I can't be boring. I have to be interesting. I have to
I
command
got
the
to be
room.
over 6 foot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
I'm
know.
not even scratching that.
It's hard for men. I feel that. Like, we have such high expectations for men, and there really are high expectations for women too, but I feel like we can get
Mm.
away with a lot less than men can. And it's not fair. It's really not. The
Mhm.
older you get, and if you go back into the dating scene, you're like, okay, what is really important? Like, I want somebody who makes me laugh. That's not that's a non-negotiable. Like, you can't have a stick up your ass. And
Yeah.
then you realize, like, what's really important to me at this age is not the same as it was when I was 20, you know.
Yeah.
But you bring up a great point, right? So if you look at this day and age, and I'm speaking totally out of context, I got nothing to base this off of except kind of what I see and hear. But if you look at dating this day and age compared to back in the day, let's just say, for lack of better terms,
Mhm.
everything's off the magic box, right? So
Yes.
you're doing a quick flick for, does that person just by physical appearance do something? So I think that's a big problem as well. It's like that human action, interaction, where back in the day, oh, you'd actually have to talk to somebody. At
Mhm.
least you get a rough feel for, okay, what's their personality? What are they kind of like? Versus just going, yeah, you might go, oh man, she looks great from across the room. Let me go over there and close the
Right.
distance.
Oh, well,
Start.
not only that, but they're lying on these apps too. Like,
Yep.
we're going to put up a picture from 15 years ago, and yeah, I make $1 million and this is what I drive. I'm going to pose next to a Lamborghini that's really not mine. Like people just aren't honest anymore either.
Hmm.
And that's a huge problem. Like be yourself from the very beginning. And if you don't mesh with somebody, that's okay. You just
Hmm.
move on to the next one. Not saying that you need to like, there's always someone better. That's not what I'm saying. But like compatibility is important. And
Huge.
if you're not compatible, it's not personal.
Hmm.
You're just not right for each other.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then you got to look at the other thing too is let's look at how people communicate this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nothing against this new generation. They don't want to talk. They want to shoot texts. you know? So
Can
are,
can
are
I
you
tell
going to
you where
go?
my kids are right now? Yeah, like they don't come out of their rooms. They hang out with their friends online, but
Mhm.
they're not in the same room hardly ever.
No.
And I were our parents like that? Like were they trying to get us out of the house? I don't
Oh
remember it being
yeah.
that way, but
If it's nice
We
out,
we left the
I have to
house
be
though.
outside. Yeah, I was
yeah.
Yeah.
told. Yeah, you got to go
Yeah.
outside. It's nice out.
Get
Just
out.
when we sit here. Yeah.
Yes.
And then just
And
make sure you're
now,
home before it's dark. I mean, it was a different time, but there was that physical interaction with other people. You just
mhm.
weren't sending secret smoke signals, for lack of better terms, going, "Hey, what's up?"
Well, there's not only that. Here's another thing too. Someone might say something you don't like, and you got to deal with it because you're going to want to play tomorrow. Those interactions and those
Yes.
socialization skills that you learn at a very young age, they're perishable. So you get into your middle school and your teenage years, and you're not having that same interaction that you had when you're in kindergarten every day.
Mhm.
After school or whatever, you're going to end up with some problems. You're not going to be words or violence. That's where a lot of that comes from because they
Well,
don't know how to.
yeah, they're not getting punched in the mouth anymore, right? If they
Right.
say something
Say
out of
something you don't
line.
like, they're going to dot your I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I wish violence was a thing still. I mean, to a point, right? But I some boys especially I think need to get punched in the face. And some girls
Hmm.
probably too. But
Yeah.
Probably it would probably shut them down though, because it'd be like, "Oh my God, my world just collapsed around me."
Yeah.
But no, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm with you, right? So it's just I think there's just been such a societal change, and I don't know where it exactly happened or what went on, but it's like if you had some beef with somebody else, I mean, at least I know for me, hey man, Smoker's Corner was the big spot where you're going to
mm,
meet and figure out your problems if you're going to duke it out.
right.
Everyone come and watch, had a fight, and then it was done, right?
Right.
And
Well, men are
I'm
different that way too though. You all can get punched in the mouth and then go have a beer with
well,
each other and it's over, right?
but I'm talking at like high school, right? So just hear me out. And in there were all kinds of guns and trucks, right? I mean, you
Oh
could
Right.
yeah.
see
Mhm.
shotguns and rifle racks and everything. Nobody ever thought about going to grab a gun just because old so and so hurt my feelings and I'm going to go shoot him. It's like, hey, dude,
Right.
if you want to defend yourself, it's you and me down there at Smoker's Corner at whatever time of the duke it out time, and you did your business and it was settled.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's these people get, I don't know, feelings hurt, aren't mentally stable, aren't brought up right, and want to sit there and go to a gun and sit there and cause violence. And it's like, for what? What's, you
Yeah.
know, what's the missing point there? So I just think it just has to look at us as a society, how we're raising our kids, how we're instilling those values in them. And like you said, get off the magic box and interact with people and have an actual conversation,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
kind of face to face.
Yeah. And a lot of those bigger problems like the shootings and things like that, and not being able to have a conversation because words are violence. I think it all stems from the same place. I think the breakdown of the
Mhm.
family, or at least look, if you're miserable and it's just not working and you split and the two parents stay involved
Mhm.
as if, we're just happen to be sleeping in different places, everything else is the same, we wouldn't have this problem. I really believe a lot of that is because of that. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I mean, really?
Right.
Then we wouldn't go to the moon if we didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings because we wouldn't try anybody else's idea because dude's dad owns the shop that makes the tires that we're going to put on the lunar lander. You know what I mean? It just doesn't
Right.
make any sense. Yeah.
Right.
So the whole business thing, what was it like for you to get into that business? Were you a business person before, or were you stay at home? Did you have just a normal job? I mean, what was your, is this
Um
something completely new for you?
No, it's not. So I've owned one of my businesses for 16 years. I have an RV park up in
Oh.
Reno, and
Oh,
it was my grandparents' RV park. Like I worked there every summer as a kid. Um, and it's been in the family since. So I have
that is awesome.
it's a great business, and it's changed a lot over the years. People don't travel in their big rigs like they used to, but we're mainly long-term rentals now, which works out really well. And then my bar and restaurant I purchased with my ex-husband about 5 years ago, and that's actually on the market right now. Like I'm stepping away from the bar and restaurant business at the moment. And then I had a bakery that I opened up during COVID, like in the very beginning of COVID, and sold that back in October. So the business thing has always been what I do. But I was a stay-at-home mom with my kids while running businesses from home too. So I've kind of done both things, but
That's incredible because we know how much work it is, don't we,
Mhm.
it's a
Rick?
lot of work. But
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
got to have really good help, and thankfully I do on all ends. So
Yeah.
Well, especially like the bar and restaurant business. I mean, let's think about it. Things that happen at a bar at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's like,
yeah.
all right, am I going to have a front window tomorrow? I don't know. We'll wait and see.
Right. Well, and this bar and restaurant's in a really small town. So there's 2,000 people. We are
Mhm.
the one of two bars in the whole town. And everybody, their habits, their girlfriends and their wives. Like
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
really, it can be really entertaining, but we have had some broken windows before too. So
Sounds like it could be
not always
problematic.
great. It can be, but I do love the
Yeah,
place.
that's awesome. So
So
what's up coming for you? What's the big thing? Do you have any events with your badass boudoir coming up?
I do have one coming up. We usually do them down here in Vegas, but Vegas has gotten really expensive in the last year. So I
Mhm.
think we're going to move up to Utah this fall for our next retreat. And usually we keep it really small and intimate. We've got about 10 to 13 girls that we bring in for the whole weekend. And I've got a leadership team. It's incredible what these women show up with and then what they go home with. They're completely different. So I love doing that. And the podcast kind of ties into that too, like aimed at that same audience. But that's all I've got coming up right now. Things are
Is there any more
going really
spots
well.
in your how does someone who's not familiar with or just learning about you, how do they get in touch with you and maybe participate?
Well, so ticket sales have not opened yet. Those probably
Okay.
be in the next month. And if they go to badassboudoirretreat.com, and I think we'll have the link to this in the show, then that's where they'll be able to sign up for updates, get our newsletter, all of that kind of stuff. And
Okay.
we will
Yeah,
have
we'll
the
put that in
ticket
the show
sales up
notes and
there.
yeah, and this will be on your podcast as well, I'm guessing, hoping.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yes.
then it'll be in there so everybody can click on it. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So if
Utah.
like you want, maybe if we're talking to the men here, if you want to send your wife, it's an amazing Christmas present, maybe anniversary present, birthday present. Like she doesn't want to vacuum. She wants to feel sexy. And
Mhm.
this is the perfect place to go. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you were saying you started up the podcast to try to just help tie the business end in. Was that kind of the driving factor with the podcast?
yeah, well, and I've started coaching women, and I wanted to be able to talk to women. I would do Facebook lives all the time, and I'm like, this, I don't know if it's really getting out there. I want to be
Mhm.
able to have one place where people can go, even if they're not on social media, and
Mhm.
they can listen to my rants. And but now I'm really loving like interviewing people, and I have this list of people that I want to interview now. Now that I talked with Rich, I'm like, okay, who's next? Like, who can I talk to, and what
Mm-hmm.
ideas can I just start thinking about? Even if somebody has a different perspective than I do,
Mhm.
I think it's so important to still talk to them, even if I may not agree with everything that they say. I still want to have that conversation and pick their brain and see where we align and where we don't align and what I can learn from them. I think
Mhm.
that's lost a lot when you're looking at Twitter and I
Oh
mean all
God.
of these
Yeah.
platforms, right? Like if you're only talking with the people that you agree with, like how are
Mhm.
you learning anything? How are you getting any better? How are we fixing any problems? It's this
Yeah.
echo chamber, right? That just continues over and over.
But the problem with social, I find, is you're getting their agenda. They're pushing their narrative. So,
Mhm.
you kind of brought up a great point, kind of pre-production we were talking. So you've got your YouTube channel as well.
Yes.
And what's that handle on that one?
I think that one's Liandra Samproni.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had a video that takes off.
Yes.
And it's funny. It's funny. All right. For some gravitating to your podcast, you would think that there would be more people gravitating to your podcast. But I've found, at least from my experience, even with, I know I'm shadow banned on Instagram because, yes, being in the gun industry.
Right.
But here's the sad thing, YouTube does it as well. Because I've had people reach out and go, hey, man, you still in business? And I'm like, yeah, why do you ask? Well, I haven't seen anything on YouTube recently.
Oh,
And
jeez.
then they go back and check. They're not, they're unsubscribed. They're
Mhm.
unnotified.
Oh,
And they
wow.
never press, and they never press the button. So this is, to me, when people look at social, and I caution all the viewers, listeners out there, first and foremost, don't believe what you see.
Mhm.
Second thing is, if you haven't seen somebody for a while, go, physically type their full name in and go check it out,
Yeah.
because they love to just kick people off and push their narrative to the front.
Oh, man,
And,
I know.
and that falls right into what you're saying. So, okay, we're going to push, all these fitness models, and that's going to be the only thing you see, because that's what they want to push, or that's their agenda, or whatever it is they're looking to push.
Right.
And like you said, now you've got low self-esteem going, oh, look at them and look at me. Well, sit there and go, good for them. I'm going to go put the work in and get to where I want to be, not where
Mhm.
necessarily they are. And I think that's a huge issue that plays in with all this as well. Is it's a totally manipulated advertising agency. And if
Right.
people think social is anything but an advertising agency, you've lost your mind, because it's like, boost your post for X amount of dollars. Oh,
Mhm.
so you're telling me you're somehow not putting it out there. So from the small business side, that's crushing us. Then we can't get our message out there. You're trying to sit there and coach ladies to be better,
Mhm.
and your message can't even get across.
Oh, yeah, Facebook won't even, because it's called Badass Boudoir, Facebook won't even let me use the actual name because ass is a bad word, and
Hmm.
it's it's really frustrating. I don't know
Mm.
See,
how to do that.
I'm yeah, I'm so you feel that way like we do, that you're not getting the reach that you think you should be getting.
No. So interestingly enough, I noticed a big drop off on Facebook because that's where I mainly interact a lot. Is it was like maybe around the pre or right at the pandemic. I was really outspoken. I was running for office. I was
Hmm.
talking crap about our governor. Like I was against everything, masks and everything. And
Mhm.
my engagement kept dropping and dropping and dropping. I'm like, dude, I have like 13,000 followers. I have 5,000 friends, and nobody's interacting with my stuff. They're not even watching it. Like, what is going on? And that's the only thing I can come up with, is that because of what I was actually talking about, that they just shadow ban you. And I don't
Yeah.
know I don't know how you get it back after that's been done, you know?
You would think
I,
you'd
I
be
don't
all
think.
over the place. I mean, with all the businesses, well
Right.
spoken, and you got the look. People, you'd think that would be all over the place. It'd be no problem.
You would think, but you can actually look at how many views your videos get, right? And my
Mhm.
Yeah.
views from like 4 years ago were super high and growing. And now they're maybe half that. And I have more, like I've got a whole different audience now. I
Mhm.
don't know how to fix it. I've tried like the friend filters. I've tried all of that stuff, and it's
Hmm.
just not working.
Yeah. Sorry
No,
about that, Rick.
no, you're good. Until, here's the bottom line. I'm not a super fan of the federal government getting involved in anything. However,
Same.
when it comes to these platforms, let's be an honest broker. Old Zuck perjured himself in front of Congress. Put the
Hmm.
silver bracelets on him. take them away, and use platform. And I got it. It's a public platform. However, it's also manipulation of information. So now you're out there trying to use this platform and go, hey, I'm anti-mask. We're pro-mask, so we're going to sit there and dump you, or reduce your reach or do whatever because
Right.
somebody doesn't agree with your views. Well, hey
Right.
there, Zuck. Let's have a conversation there, buddy. Let's
Mm-hmm.
sit down because that's the beauty with this country is we all can agree to disagree. But there's some
Yes.
telltale factual things that don't change. The Constitution of the United States is the Constitution of the United States. I am entitled to freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you have your public platform, and you're infringing on anyone that doesn't agree with you. So, like in your case, you're trying to go, this is where I stand. This is how I feel. And it probably doesn't help me busting my governor either, So I'm sure the word governor comes up and red flags going, all right, what do you say? It's like, yeah, or
Right.
God forbid I said Zuck, probably everything gets shut down tomorrow. But I think that's a huge problem with us as well, is we just can't have a conversation, or like we were talking about, kind of in pre-production, you got these trolls out there that
Oh
just
man.
try to shake the cages, right? Just to stir the pot with no
Mm-hmm.
real argument it's like you just want to cause dramas.
Yeah.
And
They're just being. Ugh.
that's it, right? So as soon as you go, mission accomplished to them.
Right. Right.
They've got
And
under your
well, and
Oh
skin.
yeah,
I'm gonna read every single comment. Like I want to
Mhm.
know
yeah.
what they're saying.
We try to
I'm
too.
not
Yeah.
gonna not gonna interact with all of them because they all don't need a reaction, but I
Mhm.
really want to.
Oh,
Well, you said
100%.
earlier that some of the things you say had upset some of even your clients and some of the listeners.
I think we've
Okay.
been conditioned to take care of ourselves, and then when we actually do, it's not working because hey, I'm the bad bitch and I don't need a man. Well, you're right. You're not going to have a man now because you are the man. And that's not what we want either. So it's a lot of these women, when they hear this, it's a wake up call because they realize this was their own doing, whether it was because it's how they were raised or their own, just their own decisions in life to get there. But they it's hard to hear some of this stuff if you realize, oh shit, this is my fault. This is why I can't find a man because my standards are really high and I've been told I can have everything. But at what cost? How are you going to get everything if you're not doing your best?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard for them to hear.
I've
But you
never
brought
seen a
up
rooster
earlier.
go outside and bring in another rooster into a hen house. I've never seen that. So why would he want a woman who's as badass as a rooster? He wouldn't.
Yeah. Well, so that's my episode that drops tomorrow. I was just talking about this. Like, I talk about the masculine and feminine dynamic because we're all parts masculine, parts feminine. But as a boss babe, this is where I
I love
thrive
that.
as
Yeah.
the masculine, right? Like I make decisions, I'm in
Yeah.
control, there's structure. But then if I want a man who's more masculine than me, I need to step back and let him lead and be more in my feminine ease and flow. Like he gets to take control. And one of the things I talked about was these women who are like, oh, well, I'm going to let him drive. Okay. But then I'm going to like criticize every turn he makes and question everything he does. Well, you're not letting him lead. You're still trying
Yeah.
to be in
Yeah.
control,
Yeah. That's
So
funny.
But that's like the classic dinner question, right? What do you want for
Oh,
dinner? Well, I'll have this. Well, I don't want that. Well, why'd you ask? It's like this vicious circle, and it's like you just go, I don't care. What do you
yeah,
want for dinner? I
us
don't
women, we're
care.
the worst. I know. We're just so
But
indecisive is the
isn't
problem.
that funny?
But when you know that, when you know like that's the playbook of women, we're
Mhm.
gonna say one thing and it's probably not what we mean.
Yeah.
Or we lie. Like those are little lies. And once the men understand that, you can kind of play it to your benefit.
hmm
Yeah.
Well, I think you hit the key point. It's communication, right? So
Yes.
it's knowing how your partner communicates, where hey, if you ask me what I want for dinner, really not ask me. You have an idea what you want. It's just trying to turn the ball around and go, well, what would you like? I feel like
Well,
this.
so here's the thing. I think that women want men to not ask. They want a man who's going to just make a statement. Do you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And make a
Sure.
decision. I want that man to just know what he wants and be like, hey, why don't we do this tonight? Or I made plans for this. Okay, like make it easier on me. I'm good with that. Tell me what to do all day long, but don't make
Yeah.
me make a decision because it's not going to go well. So,
I think on that, I think on that part, 100%, right? So it's like if you want to say the surprise date night, even though
yeah.
you're married, take your bride out for a date. Hey, where are we going? Just get in the car. What do I need to
Yep.
wear? Doesn't matter. Just get in the car. Let's go. And it's just
Mhm.
the us time.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
huge. But again,
that is huge.
that can even cause conflict sometimes because you want to go, well, where are we going? Am I dressed right? It doesn't matter. It's
Or you
like
tell
we're
her
together.
what to wear. You'd be like, this
Mhm.
is what you're going to wear. Like, we like to be told what to do. I know we probably don't say that, but being dominated, I'm not going to get too X-rated here, but being
Sure.
dominated over it's a turn on. And if a man is like, this is what you're going to wear, we're going to dinner at this time, be ready, kids are taken care of, sweet. Like, you're probably going to get late tonight. That's what women really want, you know?
Yeah,
And there you go, guys. There's the secret to life.
there it is.
Boom.
Yes, take
Yep.
control, be the man. That's what she wants,
Mhm.
inevitably.
Yeah.
But isn't that funny though? That most ladies are going to want a masculine man.
Mhm.
That term alpha is thrown out there a lot. My idea and Rick and I's idea of an alpha may be a little bit different than someone who's just taking charge. People who've actually done things hard. They're lady.
Yes. Yeah. And
So
the whole feminine thing, like, you can be strong and be feminine.
Mhm.
Actually, like, the actual definition to me of a strong feminine woman is she is firm and not meek, not quiet, but not boisterous and loud, right? Like, she's confident in who she is and her man, and she can stand next to him and be that force together. It's more masculine, and that's really not our role. That's not what we were designed for, and that's not where we thrive. We thrive when we are nurturing and soft and still powerful, you know?
Mhm.
yeah. Well, it's a great conversation, and we really appreciate you taking your time because the podcast is unbelievable. I've really enjoyed
Thank
it. I can't
you.
wait for the next episode to drop. Is that dropping tomorrow?
It does every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday? Perfect.
Yeah.
And then the outreach and the events that you're doing at the Badass Boudoir, I think that's awesome. So please come
Sweet.
back if you ever have anything that you want to push out there or you have another business venture because it sounds like you've done quite a few.
Yeah. Awesome.
Please
Thank you
come
so
back on
much,
the
guys.
show.
Oh, I'd love
Yeah.
to.
And one last question for you. Your coaching, is that a group deal or is that individual that people go to the website to sign up for as well?
So actually, the group will be up at the end of this month. So that's going to be an option for the women who maybe can't afford the retreats. We're going to have the
Okay.
group monthly coaching, actually be 24/7 almost, but my entire leadership team will be in there and they'll have access to all of us all the time. So
Okay.
That's
So
awesome.
I got two questions before we wrap up. First
Yeah.
and foremost, how can people get in touch with you if they want? What's
the
the best
best
place?
way is going to be Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. And it's Liandra.Samproni.
Okay. And then if you had one departing word to tell ladies, what would be that word of advice you would give them? And not just word, but if you had something to tell ladies, one piece of advice, what would it be?
To let him lead. Whatever that looks like for you, let him lead.
Okay.
Easy
All
enough.
right. There you go.
Sounds simple.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
This was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Very
much.
welcome.
Don't leave. We're going to
Okay.
just close it out and we'll get right back to you. Thanks
Okay.
again, Leandra. Really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Unbelievable show, buddy. Went really
Yeah,
well.
man. There it
Talk
is.
about someone who's done about every business that you can think of, and now she's helping others. Just a
Oh,
great
yeah.
guest. Glad she was able to take time from her busy schedule. So the
No,
podcast
totally.
is great from the ashes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then, go check out all our stuff and check it out. Let them lead. I mean, what better advice right there?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So anyway, thanks again, Rick. Let's do it again real soon.
absolutely,
And
buddy.
matter of fact, when you come back, we'll talk about the leashes, and we get back together, and then the trip that you just had, and we'll go from
Yeah.
there, buddy.
You know it,
Yeah.
pal.
All right, pal. All right.
All right, man.
Take care, buddy. See you,
We'll
everybody.
see ya.